My name is Brandon Coffee-Borden, and I've lived in Montgomery Village for about 7.5 years now. And currently I live in Fair Ridge in the Patton Ridge community. I'm interested in serving on the board to really meaningfully contribute to serving the foundation and its mission. I think that the board really plays a critical role in supporting the health and the welfare of our residents. It also makes a lot of really important policy decisions, everything from upholding our architectural standards to a collection of assessments, maintaining our community property, and maybe most importantly, managing the financial assets of the village. And it also plays a really important role in monitoring what's going on, both at the county level and the state level, just anything that might affect the quality of life of residents here in the village. And I just want to contribute to that. So I've served on the Patton Ridge Homes Corporation Board of Directors since 2018, and it's been a really valuable experience. And I think it's really helped me both understand the Patton Ridge community a lot more. It's helped me understand the broader Montgomery Village community a lot more, and really understanding the role that the MVF board plays, as well as the role that each of the Homes Corporation boards play relative to the MVF board. So it's really been a great experience. I've spent all of my career working as a consultant in the areas of program evaluation and policy analysis and organizational capacity building. And so through that, I've developed a set of skills, things like budgeting, contracting, negotiation, project management. I think that work has also formed a really deep understanding of the problems faced by families, different communities across the country. And a lot of my work also focused on trying to find promising solutions to those kinds of problems. And so I think that kind of knowledge and experience, I'm hopeful that it will allow me to make a really valuable contribution to the board. One important item I'd like to address is just the continuing redevelopment of the village. For me personally, my family, I think this is a really exciting time as construction is beginning on the site of the old golf course. The village center is getting renewed. Some new commercial options are coming in there. We're continuing to see this adaptation of our infrastructure to meet the changing needs of our residents. And I just think that these developments are really important to maintain a healthy and really vibrant community. And so I hope to support bring in fresh amenities like continued updates to our pools and recreational spaces, new playgrounds, more modern facilities, and those sorts of things. So the village continues to be a great place to live and work. I think another important item I'd want to address is to think creatively about how the board can support residents during what's been an unprecedented time. The COVID-19 pandemic has created some health and social and economic impacts. They're going to be with us for a while. And I think the board is going to need to continue to adapt and be flexible to meet the challenges that we see ahead. I do think as we recover both locally and nationally, there's also going to be a great opportunity to think about how we can build a more resilient Montgomery Village, strengthen the foundation, strengthen the programs and services to residents, support resident organizations, continue to redevelop the village's infrastructure, like I mentioned earlier, and then think about how we provide greater access and opportunities to residents. So I think the road forward, both in terms of the ongoing redevelopment of the village and our ongoing recovery from the pandemic, I really think that has to be grounded in the needs and interests of our residents. And one of the things that the COVID-19 pandemic has done is it's really changed the way that we interact with each other, how we think about what it means to be in community with one another. And I really think in this environment, people of all backgrounds have found new ways to connect and interact with each other and relate to each other. And I think that it's an opportunity for the board to consider how to use new tools and new technology to engage residents and reduce barriers to participation, think about how it can share information, and allow greater resident input into what the board's doing. And I think in turn, that just gives the board more information from a broader range of the community that can guide the work that the board does. I think the diversity of Montgomery Village, it's one of our greatest resources. It's one of the things that attracted my wife and I to the village in the first place, and one of the reasons that we decided to stay here and continue to raise our family here. And I think it's important to recognize, however, that communities are not homogeneous and they're not always conflict-free, right? But communities that are diverse, often there are competing interests and different priorities, and often there's unequal access to resources or to influence. And so I think really the only way the board can ensure that its agenda is consistent with the aspirations and the priorities of the community is really to take concrete action to ensure that all segments of the community have a seat at the table, that they receive the support and the resources they need to participate in the board's planning and influence the board's decision-making. And I also think it's not enough to engage the community once priorities have already been set and planning has already started. The community needs to be engaged from the start. I think the community the community should be the subject of the board's work, the ones who are really engaged in doing something, and not just the objects of the board's work, having something done to them, right? So I think by focusing on community engagement throughout its processes, the board can be supported to build on the strengths of our diverse community and really help drive change that's important to community members. Yes, I really fully support the environmental policy. I think the board has a responsibility to not just support residents, but also act as stewards for the environment and the wildlife that lives within the village. And I think it's really critical as redevelopment moves forward, as the board considers new projects, to think about how those initiatives impact the wildlife in our community. And I think also as a board, it has to engage with our neighboring communities on this issue as well. When one community moves forward with a project, its environmental impact doesn't happen in a vacuum. What one community does can directly impact the wildlife in our community, and then the reverse is also true. In terms of the future for Montgomery Village, I just really want to see our community continue to be a place where people of diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, diverse cultural backgrounds, and people at different stages of their life can find a place for themselves and build a home, right, and find a community. And I think we can continue to foster that reality by trying to strike a balance between meeting the needs of current residents, but also being proactive and thinking about the future. What are the needs of the community going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years down the line, and then really work to balance addressing those different priorities. I'd just like to share that I really do think the future for Montgomery Village is really bright, and I think that the board has a great opportunity to continue moving the progress that we've seen the last few years forward. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to be a part of that work. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to potentially serve the community on the board.